Hey everyone, it's Captain Oro here, bringing you another video for Pokemon Champions. This time we are going to be doing an update on the Mega Tier List that I did pre-Champions. So I basically reallocated all the Pokemon that were available Megas in the game. The original list had a few Pokemon that weren't available Megas in the game, so I've removed those Pokemon and then added in ones that I'd already ranked. So this was their original positions, so we'll be filtering through this list to either move Pokemon up, down, or staying in the same position. There was one Pokemon that I didn't add into the list because I didn't think it was going to be available, but it is a version exclusive Pokemon, and I will add that straight away into the list. So if we start off with our list with Mega Floette, which is the missing Pokemon on this list, I didn't include it because I didn't think they were going to allow a version exclusive Pokemon. When I say version exclusive, you can only get internal Floette in ZA. You can't get it by just trading over a normal Floette and giving it the Mega Stone. It just acts like a Floette then. It doesn't have the ability to Mega, so you have to play through ZA to get the Mega Floette, and then you have to effectively trade it through the game, through home into the game, to get the Mega Floette and the Floette Stone. So it's a bit of one that I was like, oh, I don't think they're going to include because they don't do restricted and legendaries to start off with, so I didn't include those either, so I didn't include Mega Floette. However, if we go down to Mega Floette, who's currently positioned here, I think going up, I can get this to go up for us, it's definitely S tier. Like, there's no way I can not put this Pokemon in S. It's just kind of made a huge impact. Light of Ruin, if we bring up the Mega Floette here, it is just ridiculous. Like, you've got a base speed of 102 and a special attack of 155. Now, it is weaker on the physical side. However, it's pretty much as fast as a Garchomp. It is as fast as a Garchomp, I should say. And with that attack, you're hitting very, very hard. Obviously, you have great stab attacks in Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, and Draining Kiss. However, the one that is like an auto delete button is Light of Ruin. Like, if a Pokemon resists this Light of Ruin, basically it's deleting you. It's a 140, it is 90% accurate. However, 140 base power on a stab plus your ability Fairy Aura, which is ridiculous, just kind of destroys. And obviously Fairy Aura gives that boost to all fairy type moves that are played on the field, so you're just getting like a huge damage boost. It basically deletes anything that's resistant to it, so you got like poison and steel types, they just kind of get deleted off the board. I've seen King Gambit just be removed because of this Pokemon. It does have a downside of having half recoil. I don't think that's enough for this move. Maybe they'll tune it and change it slightly, but yeah, this Pokemon's a real joke, and that's why it goes just straight into S tier. There's no other position for it to kind of go into. If we have a look at our other S tier Pokemon, I did put Kangaskhan in the S tier, but alongside Mega Salamence. Obviously Mega Salamence isn't the game, Kangaskhan is. I do think Mega Salamence hasn't been as good. The one thing that was discussed in the video was it having Power Up Punch. It doesn't have Power Up Punch in the game, unfortunately, so I do think that kind of nerfs it slightly, and it already had nerfs before going into this game. I still think it's a very good Pokemon. However, I am going to move it down to A tier for this, and that's just because it's just slightly lower than what the other stronger Pokemon in the game are doing. Going forward, however, I think Gengar is really strong. I say it's really strong. Obviously, the thing with Gengar is you get the Shadow Tag, and I've obviously discussed this before. But you also have a really fast Pokemon hitting 200 base speed. It's not one of the fastest Megas. There's a lot of Megas that hit 205 speed, but it's probably one of the faster and stronger Megas. We've seen some really good results with it, with Santino getting top 4 in the Grand Challenge Festival. it doing well in Victory Road tournaments and Pokemon challenges across the world, so it does get a few results. I think it's probably a little bit more difficult to play, especially as if you're a newer player. However, I still think it's a top tier mega. It's mainly because a lot of people focus around its Perish Song mode, but actually I think if you build a team that can kind of have the Perish Song mode like Santino's team, which I did do a video on, so definitely check that out if you want to look at that team. But you can obviously have the 2 stabs, or you can be a bit more annoying and you can run it with like Disable. That's quite good for it. It does get quite a lot of other sporting moves. I have seen like Will-O-Wisp on some. I don't think that's maybe the most optimal, but you can run like some different moves on this Pokemon to be a little bit more away from the Perish Song version. You don't even need to run the Perish Song, you could just run the 2 attacks plus Disable, which would help it out quite a lot. It's just obviously a lot of the time when I see Gengar, it's a lot of the Perish Song modes, and you kind of have a very specified way of playing with a Perish Song Gengar, which sometimes makes it very predictable for your opponent. So that's gonna stay in. I'll actually bump that up to S tier, but I just think it's a little bit predictable for new beginners, but I think it's still a very strong mega. Next one, and I'm definitely gonna bump this up. I'm gonna go Charizard. That can probably go beyond Floette. That's probably the mega. Obviously with this one, I'll just do a quick breakdown of these 3, and I'm talking about Charizard Y. Obviously with the drought, it's basically been everywhere. I think it's won the majority of the major tournaments. It's probably one of the stronger. Obviously you're getting the drought boost, you have really good coverage, you have spread coverage. It's usually Heat Wave, Solar Beam and Weather Ball. Some people run Overheat, but I think Weather Ball is correct. We've seen it being really fast, really bulky, really offensive. We've seen it on various teams. I mean, if you just look at the Grand Challenge where Ragav won, that was like a bulkier set, a bit lower down the table. You had like a slower set on Flea Pace team where he had like a Trick Room mode alongside the Charizard that would operate in and outside the Trick Room mode. So there's definitely things that you can do with Charizard to make it unique. I think that's why it's very splashable onto the team. So that's kind of something to consider when you're wanting to look at Charizard Y. It's very splashable onto a team. I do think it needs a secondary mega on the team sometimes, because you want to be able to have like 2 different modes to go with the Charizards. But that's also why I think Charizard Y has seen good results, because it's got a lot of megas it can be paired with quite easily. Next up is Gyarados. I'm going to keep Gyarados in A. I still think it's decent. I think it's actually kind of like you haven't seen a lot of usage for it. That's probably because Gyarados itself hasn't seen a lot of usage, but I still think it's a very good mega. Potentially it could go down to B, but I'm going to stick with A. I think that's correct for it. Mega T-Tar, I think is A, 100%. Obviously I'll go over the weather megas as well, but obviously you get Sandstorm and you can reset Sandstorm up, which is really nice. You are commonly seeing it just with the 4 attack moves and these 3 and the protect. Obviously you do have to be really careful because Sneasler is really big in this format, so that's kind of like the big one that you have to watch out for. I did win a tournament with this set here very early on in the meta, and that had like a very supportive team around it. It was a sole mega team with Mega T-Tar, but it didn't feel like I had to bring T-Tar into those matchups. I think T-Tar is a very flexible mega where if you're playing against other opposing weather teams, yes, you want to mega the T-Tar and try and wrestle that control of that weather. Or if there's a non-weather team, you're not forced into it, but you can obviously extend the ability of getting the special defense boost on the sand, or put stuff within chip range of the Sandstorm and reset that Sandstorm up for another 4 or 5 turns, so that they kind of get more damage onto it and it supports your team than just chipping away at the rest of the team. So I still think it's really good. I still would put it in A. I think it's a little bit I would put it above the Gyarados, definitely. Next one is Frostlass. Frostlass has had some really good results. It finished second in the Grand Challenge Festival. We've seen it do well in the Victory Road tournaments as well, and in other Limitless tournaments. I think it's definitely up there. Obviously with Frostlass you get a very different effect with the weather. You get snow warning, which often enough is paired with, it's very common, it's just these 3 moves here. Obviously on best of 1 ladder I will just mention that you can run a variety of moves in here. I have seen sub, I have seen nasty plot, so those are some things to keep in account. It also does get Will-O-Wisp as well, I have seen that as well, but often enough it is this set. I mean, the basic thing is that it can just go really fast. It hits 172, which allows you to outspeed Garchomps, which are really popular in the formats. It gets a defense boost as well from the snow, so when the snow's in effect it gets a defense boost, so you can actually train it to live certain hits. Obviously King Gambit being really big in the meta, it doesn't really like going up against it because it's a ghost type. However, it getting a defense boost if you train it correctly, so you can put in a lot of bulk in and then just give it a little bit of like defensive EVs and split it maybe this way. Then you're in a pretty good position. You can even slow it down, change the nature, kind of get into a position where you're happy with that alongside your other 6. So Frostlasses are generally running a little bit more bulkier to take advantage of that weather control, and they're definitely on like, people are testing a lot of teams to use with it, so it's definitely a mega to keep an eye out for in terms of the weather walls as well. Next up is Delphox. I still think Delphox is very good. It won one of the first tournaments by UB Slow's team. It was a sub Delphox. I think I actually think, yeah, it's an A. I'm not moving above T-Top. I'm going to move it down to Gyarados down to decent. I'm not going to keep Gyarados there. Looking at the other 4, I actually think Gyarados can go down to decent. Yeah, I think it's a very good Pokemon. However, commonly you are seeing it with so not normal Delphox, sorry, Mega Delphox. You are commonly seeing it with Heat Wave, Psychic or Psyshock. You can do Psyshock as well, and then it's like Nasty Plot, Sub or Encore. So you've got a couple of options there in terms of its support moves. Obviously you are on its 4th move, I should say, it should be Protect, so it's the 3rd move slot that you're kind of looking for. Wolfie did run a Carmine version. This one again is similar trending to Frostlass, where people are like looking at it from a more like bulkier perspective, so they're like giving it a timid nature, getting to the speeds that they want to hit, that they're happy with on their teams, and then like really bulking it out up here and up here, and almost not really investing in the special attack to maximize its survivability alongside what other support move that they're using, whether it be Carmine or Encore to like annoy Pokemon locked into other moves. Encore's quite a fun one because obviously you can lock King Gambit into Sucker Punch for the next 3 turns if it goes for a Sucker Punch, and then it's kind of dealt with, or if it goes for a Protect, you can lock it in because you're not Prankster, you're able to deal with Dark types via that method as well, so that's quite good in that regard. Moving on, one I definitely got wrong, we didn't have its confirmed ability, we had its rumored ability, is Mega Extra Drill. This is, and I did say in the original video, if it had a decent ability it would go into a higher tier. However, I think we can go straight past mid and go into, like, it's disappointing. It just doesn't really do much. Yeah, I haven't seen it on too many teams. I think it was on that Halucha team early on where the Mega was Halucha, but they did have Mega Extra Drill as well, because you had entrainment to move the move across. But I think it was Mega Extra Drill as well. I'm not 100% sure, but it just hasn't really done that well. So yeah, it's not really anything to talk about in that regard. Next up is Dragonite. Dragonite's appeared on rain teams a lot. Obviously a lot early on there was a lot of testing with Dragonite as well. I still think it's mega decent. I don't think it's mid. It's appearing back up on rain teams where you've got like Sizzle, Rain plus Dragonite. However, it's its normal moveset, so like Draco Meteor, Hurricane, it's either like Tailwind and Thunder or like a extra cover move. So I know with Aaron's team, he ran Flamethrower on it when it was out of rain alongside Tailwind, so that was something to consider on your Dragonite. You do have a lot of special coverage moves. Obviously it gets multi-scale, which is quite nice in that regard as well. Next up on the list is Blastoise. Blastoise, definitely decent. Like, it's one of those Pokemon that I run into up on the ladder, and if it has the right supportive team and it gets a shell smash off or it gets a free water spout off, it's kind of annoying to deal with, especially if you don't have wide guard. So in that regard, that's definitely a Pokemon to consider. If you want to build around it, I think you need to have the right support to allow it to get those shell smashes off or all the free water spouts off. Like, don't think about, like, you can get a free water spout off to kind of beat it. A lot of the time I do see this with Fake Out. One of the popular teams that did pop up was like Frigarath. There was a Talonflame, and both Frigarath and Talonflame had a Rain Dance, so you could kind of abuse the fact that you could set up Rain Dance in a fast mode, or you could set up a Rain Dance under Trick Room as well. And the Blastoise had like a good speed tier because it can hit 130 speed with Timid, where you can kind of outspeed a lot of the meta threats, or you could have it like in a kind of midway where it kind of underspeeds a lot of the meta threats and you go into your Trick Room mode. Obviously having Fake Out then supports that Trick Room mode as well. Next up is Gardevoir, another fairy type, a lot easier and more accessible than Flohat. However, it does take up a mega slot. I will say it's an A tier mega, personally, in my opinion. Like, the Hyper Voids from Pixelate still do a lot of damage despite Pixelate getting like a little debuff as well. However, I think it's a really good Pokemon. Toloweb did really well with it, getting top 32 in the Grand Challenge Festival. I think we've seen it pop up a few times in the Victory Road tournaments and in other official tournaments as well. Gardevoir's kind of popped up. It's a really good Pokemon, I think. I ran a team with it, like a variation of Toloweb's team. That's on my YouTube channel as well, so definitely go and check that out. That was the latest video. I'll link that in the end of this video, so if you want to check that out, there's some game footage with that and breaking down the version of the team I built for it. But definitely would worth checking that one out. It's a really strong Pokemon. Spread damage, Hyper Voice is kind of no joke, especially with a lot of the Pokemon that are currently coming into the meta as well. Alakazam, this was on the basis of we didn't know if we were going to get any Psychic Terrain Pokemon. If we got Psychic Terrain Pokemon, this thing becomes like a cannon, because you get Expanding Force, it's really fast, and effectively you could just hit fast. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of those tools. I wouldn't put it down into Mega Disappointment. I think it's mid. I think it's mid, and I'm going to put it mid. I'll put it down there, okay? I'm not going to go too much into it. Yeah, we're not going to go there. I said we're not going to go there. It's in mid. Mega Dramper. I think obviously we're still waiting for abilities similar to a lot of the new ones. There was reason to believe that this was going to be Drizzle. However, it's got Berserk. Now, it's still a good Pokemon. Do I think it's mid or do I think it's decent? I think you need to support it, right? It's really slow. There was a really cool Instruct Orangaroo team that Aaron featured on his channel. I think that's a really cool team to use, definitely climbing ladder early on. Whether it's a consistent mega you can use is something different in itself. I think I would probably be looking at the list and who I'm considering moving up and down. I would potentially keep it in mega decent on the lower end, however. I think it's got a lot of utility. It gives a Trick Room answer. However, it's not the strongest of the B tier. Like, it could be higher C or it could be lower B, I would say, for a Trick Room one. There's definitely maybe a Trick Room one who's probably better, and if I move that up I might shift my mind in this video. Next up is Mega Chestnut. Unfortunately, I was really hyping this guy up, hoping it was going to be really good. Unfortunately, because of the changes to like Trick Room's become really hard to run, and Mega Chestnut's thing is like it just gets lowered so much, like the speed, that it becomes kind of, you need to have ways to support it to be able to use it. And it being like some of its toolkit is being supportive, like wide guard and stuff like that. It can be easy to play through. I mean, it's a very big physical wall, so if you have it on your team and you're using it as like a physical wall hitter, so that Pokemon that are physically against you, like if someone has a strong physical team, this is perfect. However, a lot of people are equipping their team with at least 2 special attackers, so this becomes a little bit more difficult to then position, especially if you don't have the correct Pokemon to position it. I think I'm gonna lower it slightly into I'm gonna say lower mid. I'm being kind on myself. It might be disappointing, but I'm gonna put it lower mid. The Meowstic was one of the most terrifying Pokemon because it got like a automatic Psychic Surge when it megaed in the test server. However, that wasn't the case. It got Trace. It has barely seen any usage. Obviously, it does get Prankster into Trace, which is fine. However, it's really disappointing. I don't think, you see it every so often, but I don't think it's anything useful. I think it goes down into mega disappointing there, to be honest. Mega Fire Alligator, I think it's mid. I'm not going to change that. We got early access to its ability, so we knew what it was going to be. So I think it can stay in this tier. Like, I don't think it's anything scary, but I don't think it's anything like amazing either, or disappointing, so it can just stay in this tier. The next one is Mega Venusaur. There's a couple of Pokemon I would say I've underrated, definitely. This one being one of them. I've used this recently, found it useful. I definitely think it goes up a tier on this. I wouldn't put it into A tier. To be fair, I don't think there's a lot of Pokemon that move up to A tier from where they currently are, but there's definitely a couple that will. But yeah, it's definitely a useful Pokemon. Just want to get it up because it is very good. It is slow, however the thick fat really makes up for it, and you can run like a Leech Seed set, so depending on what your team's kind of built with, you can run like a really grindy Giga Drain, Leech Seed, Sludge Bomb, or it does get ground coverage with a power set that kind of is really annoying for your opponent to kind of deal with as well, which is quite fun to run. I've been running the more offensive one with the 3 attacks. It's been really good for the team that I've been running on, definitely. Next one, Mega Charizard X. This had really good results, and it still is having really good results. It was one that I think a lot of people looked at and went, oh yeah, it could be like mid to decent. I actually think it's kind of improved, and it's kind of proven itself. There are certain players that are really good with this, and they've built it onto an archetype. But I think it's a really good one. It does need a little bit of support. I've seen it with Coaching Sneasler, a couple of fake out ones, a redirector, stuff that stops priority to allow it to get set up. You do see it with different sets because it can run like Breaking Swipe, Dragon Claw. I saw one with Tempered Flare, which is the fire equivalent of Stomping Tantrum. So if you get stopped attacking, you get a boost, which is decent. So that's a stab boost as well, but also Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz is a little bit scary because you kind of want to get a Dragon Dance up or 2, and then you're doing massive Flare Blitz, but you're getting recoil damage to yourself. I think the team I did see it on with that Coaching Sneasler did have a Sinister for those moments where you wanted to recover the health back as well, so you could click Protect, Life Dew, but then sometimes it can come a little bit linear to play up against. So yeah, definitely a Pokemon to test. Is worth building around, but you do need to build supports around it to help it out, definitely on that one. Mega Manectric, I'll keep it in mid. I think it's mid. Yeah, I'll keep it in mid. I think it's on the upper end though. I'll move it up. Yeah, I think it's on the upper end. It's still mid, but it's definitely up there. I don't think it goes above anything that I'm going to move up on this team, on this list, sorry. It's definitely a decent Pokemon. I've done a bit of coverage on it in an underrated video, because I definitely thought it was underrated by a lot of people, so definitely go check that out. It's a good Pokemon, it has a lot of utility on it, and it hits 205 speed, so it's one of the faster Megas, so definitely one to check out as well. Next one, Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor is no joke. It's really, really good. I actually really enjoy it. I actually think, if I'm just to reorganize, it goes up into B. I don't think it's A, but it goes up into B. It had really good. No, I think it's B still, because there's a lot of Pokemon that kind of have heat on it, but it's upper B, maybe lower A. Venu definitely goes up this way as well. Kind of like this, I would say. That still stays lower. But yeah, definitely Venu is up there with Scizor. Scizor, you just get Technician, Bullet Punch, Bug Buzz. You can run Sword Science, you can run Close Combat, you can run Dual Wing Bee. It's just a really good Pokemon overall. Bug Steel is really, really good typing. Often enough, you'll see these on like non-sun teams, so like rain teams do really well with Scizor. There's a current Scizor Dragonite team that's popping up that's doing really well, so that's definitely one to keep an eye out for if you're looking to build in the next couple of windows. Obviously we're starting a new regulation today, so you should be able to maybe if you want to test out Mega Scizor, definitely give those rain teams a view and have a look at what you can do. Mega Bayonet, I think it's Mega Mid. I'm not going to change it. It gets Prankster. It has a couple of good toolkits. Poltergeist, Encore. It has a lot of status moves that it can use, but your mainly attack moves are Poltergeist and Shadow Sneak, so you're kind of focusing around that. But it does have a quite high attack stat. Mega Lock Bunny. I think that can move up. I think it can definitely move up the list here. The thing is, it gets close combat, but its stab coverage for normal attacks isn't great. You literally have to run Giga Impact or Facade, and Facade doesn't do enough when you're not burned, so that's something to consider. But it is annoying Pokemon. Often you see it with Fake Out, Encore, Giga Impact and Close Combat. It's definitely a fun Pokemon to run if you have it on a team. It does have a lot of status moves as well, like Rain Dance, Sunny Day. That's something definitely to check out there as well. Mega Camerupt, I think it can stay in mid. It's picking up a lot of usage. It is very bulky, that's what I would give it, but it's very, very slow. So if you fail to get up a Trick Room or two, you effectively can get swept if the opponent has enough left over. So it's definitely something to consider if you are kind of wanting to run this. You need to have Spore on it, maybe a bit of weather control as well, because it doesn't get Drought, it gets Sheer Force, so that's something to consider. Its main kit is Heat Wave, Eruption and Earth Power, and Protect, so obviously it can get the Trick Room back up, so definitely something to consider if you're running that. Mega Heracross, I haven't come across too much of it. It's very solid though when I've played against it. I still think it's Mega Mid. I will keep it in there. I wouldn't change that. Mega Slowbro, honestly haven't seen too much for this guy. I think it's solid, but it definitely could go down on this list. Like, it's nearly in D, but it's got like a good ability, so definitely keep it there. Mega Heracross, I think I'm going to move these couple down. Like, they're good Pokemon, they're not like lower, but I just want to position them lower on this list to make it clear for you guys that they're not in the disappointing tier, but they're not closer to the decent tier as well. Yeah, I'll reshuffle some of these just to make it like clear on which ones I think are doing well. Mega Skyroy, it has picked up a bit. It did have a good result in the Japan qualifiers as well. Someone hit the top 126, I think it was, to qualify for the Japan Nats prelims, so this did well. I definitely think it's got some use case for it. It's definitely an interesting Pokemon in that regard, because its speed tier is insanely high and its attack stats insanely high, so that's definitely something to consider. Next up, Mega Altaria. This is a Pokemon I've used myself in a little funny video where I did it with Mega Scovillain. I was looking for something to deal with weather, and I was like, I don't want it to be the normal Altaria, so I used Mega Altaria. It's definitely mid. Like, I used the special version with Draco Meteor, Hyper Voice, Roost, and Protect. Maybe not the best set for it, but it was something that I wanted as like a defensive wall plus way to deal with weather. Yeah, it's definitely a mid Pokemon. I would probably place it a little bit lower down this list. We'll move these lot down as well, I think. Mega Starmie. A lot of people tested it out early on. I think the problem for Starmie is obviously it's a water psychic type, and you're dealing in a format where King Gambit is really big. Rain had like its surgence at the beginning, and then it kind of dipped off, and now it's kind of getting revitalized with like the Mega Scizor Dragonite version. So Starmie's definitely like maybe around the corner of being tested again, probably like a bulkier version of it, not like what people are running was like a fast defensive version. Potentially people are going to look at a bulkier version so it can live hits, and that's what people are tending to trend towards. We had a meta where it was like really fast heavy hitters, then it started trending towards bulkier, and then we're trying to come into this more balanced style of play again. So yeah, definitely Starmie, keep an eye on it. I think it will come back, but it will be on Rain teams exclusively. Or you could try the skill swap stuff that Alpharad and Wolfie did. That's quite funny to do, but maybe you could do it, but it's like maybe a better one thing as well. Mega Sableye. Okay. I think that's, I think you just put it down into the bottom tier. Sableye itself has picked up a lot. Mega Sableye doesn't really do much else other than that. Like, it doesn't live hits. You're better off putting a berry on it so it can live. Definitely on that one. Mega Garchomp. You see it fleetingly, not too much, especially at higher ladder. Yeah, I was kind to this because it was it's a Pokemon I like, but you see Garchomp being in the top 5 usage, whereas Mega Garchomp is just not around at all. So it's definitely a Pokemon that could, I think it's the mid, but I don't think it's on the high end of mid. We might reshuffle this, but yeah, I still think it stays in mid because people can use it, but it's just difficult. Joe UX9 and Justin Tank did do a video with, again, Orangaroo and Garchomp, taking advantage of the fact that it's got a lower speed, not of great ability, but it has an attack buff, and with Orangaroo you can kind of click instruct a couple of times, telepathy, earthquakes, and you get those big earthquakes off on that one. Next one, Lucario. Yeah, they did this Pokemon dirty considering the anime hype they gave around it. Yeah, it's just not that useful, unfortunately. I think I'm gonna, even though it's like one of my favorite Pokemon, I'm gonna lower it into disappointing. It's on the upper end. It's definitely not mid on that one. Yeah. Gallade as well. You're probably gonna see more. Mega Gallade is mid. I'm kind of reconsidering this Lucario one now. I'll review it at the end. Mega Gallade is mid. It could be disappointing because obviously you probably just see normal Gallade more, so this can definitely go on this lower end here, potentially alongside Lucario if we change it a little bit later. Mega Crab. I would put it on the higher end of this list. I'm not going to put it into Mega Decent because I think there's actually a better Trick Room Sweeper, and in fact that might mean Drampo drops down as well. Yeah, I think Trick Room Sweepers just have a really hard time. Yeah, I'm going to move Drampo down. We'll move Drampo down alongside. I think you've got a few Trick Room Sweepers that kind of just struggle a little bit into everything. Mega Glamora, definitely one of the higher end Megas in the mid end. adaptability is great. Obviously, we found out its ability was adaptability, and we effectively, it was like, okay, cool, this thing can hit hard and fast, but it's not the fastest thing in the format, and its biggest issue is Garchomp still outspeeds it. At the beginning there was a lot of Scarf Garchomps as well, so this thing just really felt the effect of that. So I think it's going to pick up. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. There's a lot of people testing it in the higher end, especially alongside Charizard. It's quite nice to have because a lot of Charizards are getting paired with Sylveon or Floette. So having something that can hit with Sludge Bombs, especially adaptability Sludge Bombs, is really nice. You could also just run normal Glamora on your Charizard teams because it will hit really hard as well. So it's definitely something to consider as a Mega Pokemon, especially if you're wanting to kind of give certain Pokemon better coverage on your teams, and you have a Mega slot available. Mega Glamora might be your answer to the rise of fairy types in this format. Mega Chandelure, don't see it too often. It's definitely a mid Pokemon, I would say. Potentially lower on this list. Yeah, I think it's around probably Greninja level kind of hype on that one. That is not anything huge. It got Infiltrator, didn't keep Flash Fire, so yeah, it kind of got a debuff in that sense, which is kind of disappointing for it. Lucha, as I mentioned, there was a really popular entrainment team going around, and it has gone around again because Wolfie finished 6th in the GC. It was entrainment onto Fisher Snorlax with Stockpile, which is quite fun. It doesn't really do too much other than people going no guard entrainment onto it, so it's, I would say it is disappointing. Whether it's going to get reworked, I don't think so. So I think it's going to go into the disappointing tier for this one. Moving on to Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is a really interesting one because normal base form Aerodactyl has really high usage across the first few weeks of the format. However, as we moved on into the format, Mega Aerodactyl picked up, and we've seen a lot of it on the Charizard Sun teams. Mega Aerodactyl hits 222 base speed with max investment Jolly. With its tough claws, Sneasers can't bulk out enough to basically survive a dual wing beat. Like, you have to invest a ridiculous amount of bulk to survive that dual wing beat. So it's definitely picked up. I would put it up into A. It's doing really well right now, like, I can't lie, it's on upper A 100%, close to being like S tier, but it's not S tier because of, you know, it's just very, very good on these Sun teams and on other teams as well. It gets access to Tailwind, Wide Guard, Dual Wing Beat, and Rock Slide. Obviously, being the fastest Rock Slider in the format is really annoying because you can get flinched a few times if it successfully connects as well. That's something just to consider. You might want to add a Wide Guard Pokemon on to deal with the Aerodactyl, or you might want your own Aerodactyl / Mega Aerodactyl to deal with it with Wide Guard, so you can do that. Next up is Mega Greninja. As I said, it's fairly mid to go on with. It's got protein still. It's a little bit faster. That's really it. So it's nothing going to change there. I'm not going to move that. Next up is Mega Machamp. You don't really see this around, I'm not going to lie. And I'll probably lower this. It would have probably been better if Trick Room was better. But yeah, I'm going to put it... it can go lower on the list, and because of that as well, I'm going to actually move Lucario back up to mid. And put it up there. I think these fighting types just really struggle at the moment with the fairies being like so strong, like Gardevoir, Floette, Lefable, Sylveon. You know, you've got really strong fairy types around that can kind of do a lot of damage to them, and they just kind of struggle if they don't have like a good resisted typing into them. Obviously we spoke about Mega Hawlucha. Mega Pidgeot can just go lower into the tier. I just don't see it around. Alongside Beedrill, it can go down as well. I think that one I definitely called wrong. I was hoping that there might be some usage here. Mega Absol, again, it's not great as well. I think that can potentially, I can stay in disappointing. There's people that use it, but it's like in lower, like Great Ball, Ultra Ball, you'll see it pop up every so often. Mega Aggron, I disrespected this by putting it down into D tier. Early format, you were looking at it as like mega decent. I think it goes up into mega mid. I'm not going to put it at the top because I think that's a bit disrespectful to some of the other Pokemon, but it's definitely top 4 or 5 Pokemon there. Well, that kind of bracket, I would definitely say 100%. Yeah. Actually, no, yeah, it can go into here. Gyarados is there. It can go into decent. Like, it's just a wall. It's just a physical wall. Like, if you get rid of all the Pokemon special attackers, like, it's so annoying, and it's got filter as well, so you need like a decent fire type. Like, I used to have to use Rotom Heat over Rotom Wash to get like huge damage onto it. Like, I mean, Rotom Wash does decent damage, but it was like, yeah, this was just better into it. Next one up is Meganium. Meganium is definitely one that is mid. It got early usage on the rain teams alongside the Dragonites because obviously it was a fairy type as well. So you'd often see like Dragonite Meganium, Archaludon, Pelipper, Supporter alongside it. The problem it has was what Floette has is that once you have a Pokemon that's doing so well in the same type bracket as you, if you then don't have answers into those Pokemon that counter the Mega Floettes and stuff like that, then you're going to struggle. So we've seen a definite drop off of Mega Meganium, but I can see it coming back. But often enough, you just see it with the same 3 moves: Weather Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Solar Beam, Protect. So that's something just to consider if you want to test it up. But I definitely think it's up there to use as well on that one. Mega Fable, I'm sorry, but nobody is using you. You can go down. Definitely kind of in the disappointing tier. Nobody's wanted to use you since the game. Like, people maybe have tested you out, but then realized quickly this is not the game for it. Victory Bell. I think some people use it. I still think it's disappointing though. I don't think it's not gonna rip up the tiers. You could test it out. It's definitely on the higher end of here. It's not unusable. It's just not amazing. Mega Chimecho, kind of interesting. There was a period where you had the Cosmic Power, stored power. Sorry, Cosmic Power, stored power version of it. Problem is, Kingumbit's really high. It does get Levitate, so like Garchomp's couldn't hit it, which was quite nice. I think it's up into mid tier, probably around this section here, not higher than Camerupt, I wouldn't say. But yeah, definitely in mid. It's an interesting Pokemon. There's like a Boom Burst version as well, where you had Sylveon alongside it doing copycat shenanigans. Golurk, it's probably the better Trick Room Pokemon, I would admit, and it has won a tournament. I think it's decent because of its attacks that it can do. I prefer Crabominal, but I think overall Golurk's better on certain teams, especially like maybe like Sun Trick Room teams. This thing supports very, very well on that, so it's yeah, definitely something to watch out for. It gets Unseen Fist, which is obviously any contact move. It can break through Protect, so often you see Poltergeist, Headlong Rush, another filler move, and Protect. Obviously Poltergeist won't go through the Protect, so that's something just to remember on that one, because I've forgotten that a few times, so it's definitely something to consider there. Mega Emboar, do I move it up to the mid tier? I don't think I do. I think it stays in disappointing. It's not something that kind of interests me, but I think it's on the higher end. Like, people have used it on like Trick Room Sun teams. I just think there's better options. Camerupt's potentially better in that regard. Or it, like, I know a lot of people are exploring Mega Camerupt right now, so it's definitely something to consider when using that. Mega Villain. I built a team for a tournament with this, with Altaria, as I mentioned. This thing is a joke. Like, it's so good, especially in the meta we're currently in, where a lot of the attackers are physical. Now, yes, the top 3 megas that I've put in the S tier ranking are special. However, if you look along the next line, you've got physical, special, physical, physical. Obviously can't get burned because of fire typing, but physical, special, physical. You've got so many physical attackers in your mega lineup, and then you go to your normal lineup of Pokemon like King Gambit, you know, the King Gambit Sneaslers that are running around. That thing just then burns them. The Aerodactyls that are running around, it just burns them. Definitely up. Does it go into Mega A tier? It has a chance, to be fair. I'm going to be kind to it and give it Mega A because I was really disrespectful to it last time around, and I'm going to give it Mega A. So it's definitely been approved. Yeah, it's just now splashable onto a lot of teams if you want it. I've seen some sand teams, I've seen various teams just pick it up. The first Mega Aerodactyl team was alongside this guy, so yeah, definitely something to consider if you want a redirector. It's probably now one of the stronger redirectors in the format. It used to be Sinister. There was like a time when Clefable was around, but yeah, definitely Mega Scovillain's really good just because of its spicy spray. It does require you to mega, however you can mess around with a couple of sets of like Moody. You get like a protect and get a decent like defense boost or a speed boost or whatever. It definitely comes kind of in use, definitely from that angle. Mega Houndoom. I think it's better. It's probably top of this. Yeah, I'll be kind to it. I'll put it up, but I'm not going to put it into mid. I don't think it's mid enough to go up. Sharpedo, I haven't seen this increase. It's kind of interesting because it gets a speed boost and can be very annoying, but it's still disappointing. I'm going to put it up with Houndoom, but it's not going to go into mid. I don't see it often enough to say that it can go into mid there. And that's a factor why I'm not going to move that up. Mega Abomasnow. Do I think that deserves to go up? I'm definitely going to move one more up. I'm going to move 2 more up actually. I think that can go up as well. But I just think it gets outclassed by Frostlass. Like, you're not going to see this a lot there. Mega Ampharos, people are using it. I still think it's disappointing, but I'm going to put it on the upper end. Not disappointing, sorry. No, because this suggests like don't use it. People are using it. I think it can go up a tier. Yeah, definitely. Like, it can go up a tier. Would I use? Yeah, I'm just kind of considering where I put it along this line. On the lower end, 100%. Yeah, it's not a great Pokemon. Like, you could probably use it on like a heavy supported team, but yeah, it definitely doesn't get to go up. Mega Steelix, we did see a lot of Mega Steelix early on, and then it's dropped off again. Like, a lot of people went from Mega Steelix to Mega Aggron. It's got an argument for Mega Mid, which I'm going to give it, but it's going to be on the lower end into Mega Disappointment. Like, you just don't see this thing around that much, but like, you could see an Ultra Ball and Great Ball. But yeah, so yeah, but yeah, that's my quick update on the, I say quick, the update on the Mega tier list. If you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you think I've ranked something wrong. You reckon something actually should be ranked higher or actually lower. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. So I really want to hear everyone's thoughts on this, especially for us going into MA season 2 with these megas. So it's definitely interesting to find what people have experimented with and find out what they think. But if you enjoy this content, obviously remember that I stream regularly every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. on my Twitch stream, so you can check me out there, where I test out various teams on the channel, trying to climb the ranked ladder all the way up to champion tier, hopefully. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and a follow on the YouTube channel. But until then, we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.